We are now live on YouTube. Chair, when it's 6 o'clock, you may start the meeting.
I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Historic Resource Commission, October 5th, 2021. The Historic Resource Commission is charged with promoting, enhancing, and preserving the character of the historic district, as well as landmarks, including the Courthouse Square Historic District. Take roll call. Jerome Bias. Matt Haley.
Present.
C. Clark Baldwin.
Present.
Karen Chan.
Here.
Bonnie Whitaker.
Present.
Jeanette Baudry.
Here.
And I'm Carrie Worthy. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we'll take a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. We will now consider the minutes from the October 5th, 2021. Oh, I read it wrong. Meeting of the HRC. The minutes include findings of facts and conclusions of law. Commissions, are there any corrections to the minutes? Yes.
There are, I see several, my name misspelled a few times, and problem with people breaking in, it is a lot, and then it says a money, maybe it's a lot of money.
So let's take the two. If you could
Page 3.
acknowledge how the name should be spelled.
Okay, so it's spelled properly at the beginning of the page, is ZI as opposed to KI.
Thank you. And then the second,
And the second is underneath where it says that Karen Chan asked if there's a cost to the city to evict people that don't live there. Jeanette stated that if the building is restored, it would be a city to evict people that don't live there. And then it goes on and it says that restored it would not be a problem with people breaking in. It is a lot of money. Maybe it's a lot of money
okay,
here. And then my name being misspelled again.
okay. Thank you for that.
Anyone else? Okay. May I have a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
I'll make a motion that the minutes be accepted as corrected.
A second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Thank you. Before we start the public hearing, I would like the staff to go over our motions, please.
Good evening, Chair and Commission. As you heard at our last month's meeting, it is okay for us to take our time, and if we make a stumble, we'll go back and correct it. So we had some learning at our previous meeting about the first piece when we are in our quasi judicial hearing is to first have a motion of the finding of fact. So your finding of fact authorizes to approve the COA. That is why the two are separate. Whenever you're doing your finding of fact, I have provided you some opportunities at the design guideline that you can include. You don't have to read each one, for example, like an 8.1 through an 8.8. You can just say 8.1 through 8.8 underneath masonry, but you'll want to list out all those areas of topic in your finding of fact. Then the chair will ask for a second and then a vote. Then with the approval, that goes into accepting the COA. Whenever you make the motion of the COA, you're either accepting it and approving it, or you're accepting it with conditions. And this is where you would apply conditions, or you're denying it. And then you would need a second and a vote. Is there any clarification that's needed?
Have it in here.
Okay,
Mhm.
and we'll just take our time.
Right.
One other thing, as a reminder, Chair Worthy, if we can open with a vote for the public hearing and remembering to close
Okay,
for the public hearing. Just a better order of procedures of having those votes on record. Any other clarifying orders of procedure for me? All right, Chair Worthy, let's continue. And then if a stumble occurs, we'll fail forward and have some grace.
okay. So may I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
Make a motion. Yeah, I make a motion that we do this time open the public hearing.
Okay, there is a motion and a second
I'll second.
and a second. Is there all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It passes. Thank you. We're in a public meeting now. We will begin the evidentiary hearings of the items listed on the agenda as quasi judicial proceedings. The HRC is not setting policy, nor are we soliciting public opinion on the desirability of an application. The HRC hears and considers evidence presented and applies the standards set forth in the guidelines and standards of the specific historic district for that application. The HRC must make its decision upon competent material of some substantial evidence to determine the facts of hearing. The HRC will use judgment and discretion to apply the standards contained in the relevant guidelines to the facts. The commissioners in voting for an item will not have a fixed opinion, not susceptible to change, have a conflict of interest, have engaged in ex parte communication regarding the application. This meeting is open to the public, but participation is limited to interested parties who wish to provide comment, testimony regarding the proposal. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and how they relate to the relevant historic district standards and guidelines, not personal preference or opinion. At this time, anyone providing testimony for COA 2113, please come forward to be sworn in. And that is the Graham Public Library. Now we will move us to hear COA 2113. Mary, will you please present the staff report for COA 2113?
Before we do, will you make a motion to open the public hearing?
Oh, I just did that already.
Did you get a second?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry. So for COA 2113, its location is at 2011 South Main Street, known as the Graham Public Library. You can see the map on the teleprompter above you. The building is in the era of 1966. It's a government or institutional in design. It is a one-story brick building. The applicant seeks to purchase a Hold It self-service kiosk in the color medium blue. In the vicinity of this property is a mural where the background is also medium blue. This is behind the Graham Police Department. Adjacent to the front entrance of the library is an artistic design bench where its base color is green. Across the parking lot from the Graham Public Library is the Graham Fire Department's building. The building has red accent colors painted vertically separating the fire bays along with a red door.
Okay. Commission members, do you have any further questions of staff?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. Miss Susan Goldman, is that your name?
So first we're going to
Oh.
ask Mary. Do you have any questions of Mary?
No.
Okay. So, well, sorry, I have,
Wait, I did.
yes.
Mary. All right, that's my phone acting up. Mary, was there, what you just read? Was that, what page was that on?
So that's my staff report. That's not in your packet.
Okay.
That's our report to you.
Okay. So now, would you introduce yourself and say where you live, please?
Yes, I am Susanna Goldman. I'm the director of the Alamance County Public Library, and I reside at 433 Gates Avenue in Graham.
Okay. Is there any questions of,
I do.
okay,
Ms. Goldman, thank you so much for coming before us today. I do have a couple of questions. I don't know if you're going to make a presentation, so I was hoping that the questions would come after her presentation.
fine.
If that's permissible.
Sure.
Thank you.
so if you just want to go over the design of what you're asking us.
Okay, so we are asking to install what we call as a remote hold pickup unit outside the Graham Public Library. So it is a series of lockers that would allow for 24/7 access to pick up library hold materials. We are looking to install it obviously outside of the building. We couldn't put it in the atrium or anything because then 24-hour access wouldn't be possible. So we are looking at the part of the building that is to the right of the front door, closer towards the book drop. Right now, there is a landscaped bed right there, which we have been working with the city to get permission to, as a part of this project, to bring in an electrician to remove a light that exists in the landscaped bed, but also to install power and Ethernet connection. And then to work, we have quotes with some construction companies to be able to remove the edging of the flower bed, and they would install a concrete slab that is at the level of the sidewalk, so there wouldn't be any ADA compliance issues. And they would also re-edge the garden bed on the other side of where the unit would be. The unit would be total of around, the cement slab would be around 90 inches wide and around just over 5 feet deep, which is the size of the landscaped bed as it exists. The remote locker unit itself is 87 inches wide and 76 inches tall. And so some of the pictures will show you that it's actually 4 like units bolted together with the control kiosk in the middle. Pictures show 3, it'll actually be 4. And they'll be bolted together and bolted to the building.
Do they stand out from the building? Like how far?
They are 19 inches deep, so approximately 20 inches deep, the unit, but the cement slab will cover the entire landscape bed area. So you could walk right up to it, no steps or ramp.
The concrete that you're pouring, that where you see it from the kiosk or the lockers, and then to what we already have, is it going to be the same material? Because it's a rock that is the material that's on there, and are you going to do that so that it flows together and looks like it's one unit?
So it'll actually be cement that will not match the rock gravel that's in the walkway, but will match the sidewalk that's to the side of the garden bed at the edge of the curb there's like a cement sidewalk right there where the book drop is. So it'll match that and not the rock looking part of the walkway.
So your kiosk will be detached from the building. It will not be attached to the building. It's going to be freestanding.
For safety reasons, it needs to be bolted to the building.
So this takes me to my next question. I did go ahead and look at some other libraries, and I talked with one of the directors, and they have a freestanding kiosk that is located off-site, actually. And their suggestion was that if you do not have to attach it to the building, it would probably be better. Just preserving the historic building itself without having to remove some bricks, because that would also be involved with installing the new kiosk. Is that correct?
The brick that we would remove would be just the landscaping brick on the garden bed, nothing on the building itself.
Nothing on the building. Okay, so the freestanding, you would not want to consider doing that as opposed to attaching it to the building in case that the library is ever moved. and somebody else occupies that, then they would have to come back and forth and maybe possibly have it removed again. And I don't know what it would detail, but they said that it could be freestanding. It can also be custom made, where it could not have to flush to your wall, but it would be very close to your building. So it would be easily to be removed in the case if the building is ever, if some other business was to occupy that building and the library moves to another location.
It can actually also be bolted down to the cement slab that
the-
we would have installed to
was-
instead of the building face. As for your question about not securing it down, the only concern I have for that is tipping. And I want to say that wouldn't happen. It would be few and far between that would happen. But if a locker door is open and there are kids, I wouldn't want that to be an issue.
Right, so do we have any estimates or anything from the architectural drawing or from the persons doing the masonry work? Do we have any thing from the person doing the electrical work? Because there's going to be some electrical work also involved. Have we considered when we are when we are tampering with the landscape, have we considered whether or not it's going to falter any drainage or cause any problems with the existing grade? Because that is an issue also when doing this. I've had some brick masonry background, so I just wanted to kind of point those things out and just see if there was a definitive answer, how it may or may not change the existing grade or drainage. And it could also, depending upon how old the piping is and how it's all put together, it could affect businesses around it as well. Do you have any estimates on that? Has anybody looked at that?
Yes, I have an estimate from one electrician and 2 construction companies that I can share with you if you'd like.
Yes, please.
The chair, if I may also, Susanna met with the City of Graham building inspector, and he made some recommendation, and our public works director also was in favor of the way that the walkway and the space leading up to the front entrance is there's a grade for sloping of stormwater. And so that the grade leading up, if approved to the unit, would also have that gradual grade up to it. That would make it accessible.
Without
across
having
the
these
mobilities.
available, it was kind of hard to say, and I was being asked different questions.
Yes.
And I was like, we'll get them all answered tonight, but I'm not really sure.
And-
What,
Yes, and then one other comment that I want to say that Justin may have shared at our last meeting, but definitely has educated me upon, is in the event that there is an approval where something can be affixed to a historic building, it is the practice to do it in the mortar and not in the brick. So then it doesn't disrupt the brick.
yeah,
And that is a common practice to be in the
Yes.
mortar.
okay.
Yeah, she mentioned that they could be bolted to the
The
concrete.
concrete,
Maybe we should look, see that looks into. I still have a little bit of concern about I know it's visual, but the concrete, because we have this plaza there, and then you're going to pour just concrete, and that's going to be a very, very visual, not a good visual leading up to the library, because we have, is there a reason why they can't do the gravel rock like the plaza is already made of?
I'll be honest and say we didn't ask them as a part of the quote, so it's not a part of the quote price we asked for, but both companies implied it would be much more expensive. And cost was a bit of the issue for the project.
But then what happens is then the plaza starts looking patterned
yes,
and not fixed like it should be. It looks like what you
Like
did
it's
is you
been
poured
patched.
concrete and it's patched. And that's not necessarily what we want the library to look like. We would rather have it look even and like it was designed in the first place. Like you don't, like, if you add something to it, we want it to not notice that you added something to it. By just pouring concrete, you're gonna know that you changed the design of the look.
Am I correct that you're filling in the entire flower bed?
Just for the 90 inches length of the unit, not the entire bed all the way to the door. It is a much, much wider space. So there's a tree there that'll remain, and then there's a
Okay.
few, I don't know what the book
So
plants. are
that
that'll
bush
happen as
will
well.
stay there.
Yes. Some landscaping bed, a little more than half of the landscaping bed will stay there.
So on this, I'm sorry, on this estimate, it says remove 12.5 feet of brick. Where's that brick? I mean, that they're removing, is that?
I think that's the
It's-
Border.
border of
Border.
the,
The
of
border.
So you're talking about just the bricks around the
Perfect.
border, around the
Yeah.
edge?
that's the one.
Okay,
The landscaping edging, yes.
Okay.
It's about the width of one brick lengthwise.
okay.
Going back to the plaza and stuff and the rock design, this particular rock design goes all the way down this sidewalk to the street, all the way around the Arts Council. I mean, this is not just in front of the library. It's a really uniform
Pattern.
look for this whole
Area.
section area. Yeah, so I think that's why it's important that we try to retain that pebbly look.
If
I-
I may, I just also wanted to interject. Is it okay, Chair? When speaking with the Public Works Director, he identified that concrete was the way to go because trying to match the existing decorative pebbled concrete would
Like
be on
more.
next to impossible.
Due to aging, right?
Would it be possible to take the sidewalk has a pattern of double rows of brick periodically?
Oh, it does.
Would it be possible to incorporate that into the design of your concrete? To create continuation of the pattern on the concrete? That makes sense to you?
I think I know what you're saying. I think it makes sense to me. It might change the quote price a little bit, but I can find out.
So if you see, there's a wide red brick pattern in the plaza. And so if you move that into the front of the thing so that it at least gives it a little bit more of the continuance of what the
Separation.
plaza is. I just see, I mean, or even if the concrete had a tan, what I want to say, dye to it, so that it's not white concrete when, because the plaza's tan, if it had a tan dye to it so that it's the same color as the plaza, anything to make it look uniform and not that we've added this piece to the plaza.
Okay.
Mary, is that like in other projects that we've talked about, is that something that we could refer back to work with the city to do that?
So the city is an option as a contractor. However, Susanna has also explored private contractors doing the work.
I'm not talking about the work, except that, like in a couple of things that we've done, the city has given guidance to make sure it matches up with what stipulations we've put in place, like the color or the type of materials or what.
So whenever you guys do the motion of approval or denial, that's where you will list
Okay.
the conditions, and then that has to be followed
Kinda
by
like
the
the-
applicant.
Kind of like the sign stuff we were talking about last week with the projects and things.
So it could be approved with some conditions.
Yeah.
That is correct.
And, there you go. Okay. And with the electrical work, is the library open for the public now, people going in? Okay, so my only question, would it interrupt when they're trying to disconnect the lighting from the outside, when they disconnect, that power will not interrupt the power from the inside of the library, so it'd be business as normal and no interruptions there. What else?
Correct, yes.
Mm.
We got fairly lucky, and right on the other side of the wall where we install it is actually one of the electrical, cable closets where some of the servers are, so they would come and
Does-
wouldn't interfere with anything like that.
Yes, wonderful.
Okay, is there any other questions?
I had-
Jerome, did you have any?
I was wondering, does the light work?
The light is functional when there's a good light bulb in it. Right now, the light bulb is dying and you can barely tell. that it's-
My concern is that we're creating a dark corner on the library, on the face of the library, which, yeah, it's dark and it's not nice. How are you guys planning on dealing with that?
It's actually, the light is in the mulch and 90% of the time is covered by the mulch.
Right.
So it is not one of the ones that is bright enough to light up the building. And the parking lot light does offer enough light after hours to cover that.
And the color. Where does this blue come from? Does it match anything in the area?
She said
Francis?
there's a mural across from it that had a blue background on it. I think that structure that's out front too has a little bit of blue at the bottom, or is it green or blue? I think it's blue, right?
It's blue. Yep.
Oh,
But it's gonna be a different shade of blue, is that right? There are gonna be two different shades of blue now?
it's gonna be like,
I can't say
that
that I can
blue.
tell you what exact shade of blue is on the base of the sculpture. The company has certain shades that we can do, and this one closely matched what what in a picture. I couldn't tell you, seeing them both in person, if they'd be close.
Yeah,
But
And
Thank-
does this,
I think the sculpture is going to be repainted soon, so, because it's faded, so it will be a brighter blue
Right.
once it's painted.
so have any of the colors been matched up with what's already approved, the palette that we use for colors? That we were,
I would guess that, I don't know.
has those blues been matched with what we have, the approved colors?
So we would just have to, if we approve the COA, then we would approve the color that they are asking. So they don't have to come to us if they pick one of our colors, but if they don't pick one of our colors, then we approve it. So if you approve this and say yes to blue, then they could use the blue, even if it is not in one of our palettes. Does that, okay.
Okay.
Did I read that it's going to be powder coated? The blue will be, okay, they
Yes.
probably are not a lot of choices in the blue that they can choose to do the work. So we're probably going to have to be a little,
Lenient.
yeah,
Okay, very good.
flexible.
If the commission would like to see the color palette, I have it of the historic approved minor colors.
If we can show it to
Could
Ms. Goldman
she-
to just to
yeah,
see if it
could
matches
she
anything.
choose the blue?
Yeah,
That
anything that
closest
she has,
matches what she's seen.
Yeah, idea, because she knows better than we do what she's looking for, then we can look at it.
way brighter than what we
Without
chose.
anything's gonna come close.
They can vote on the medium blue.
Mhm.
If you look, we have a powder blue.
Okay.
And there's also grays. And there's some teals.
Not
So
a medium to dark blue.
there's not a medium star.
But I was gonna say, the main concern we went with the blue we chose was showing dirt over time if it was too light a color.
Right.
Like
Hmm.
from storms would be very visible was our main concern for having too light of a color. But from the blues that you can sort of see it there in the color selector. There's some that are a little bit lighter and some that are a lot darker.
You're doing which one have you picked? The top one, the top? Yeah, that's the color?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
No, but so we would have to approve that
That's what I
color.
wondered, yeah.
We would have to approve that color.
How about a gray? Did you think about a gray or brown or a?
Well, you can see up there what the
Brown is
colors
not one
are.
of the colors up there. There is a gray up there, both light and dark, and the light gray we felt would show very visibly show if
So
it was dirt.
these are the
But
colors
there's a
from the
dark
person, the
Yeah.
person giving the estimate.
This is
Yes.
from the company, yes, that they have the powder coat colors to use.
Okay, so
Is that at the bottom of the first column? Is that gray? Is that a gray?
like a
since you've seen it?
charcoal, like.
Yeah.
Mhm. Just because I know we have that on that palette, and in case someone else has come before us about colors and we derive them to the specific palettes, we can be consistent in our findings and our approvals. And we shouldn't run into any, problems. If we could stay close to what's already approved, that way we don't have anybody questioning, well, how did they get this color? We're gonna do another color somewhere else that's not been approved, just to keep it kind of consistent. My only concern. Because I have in my notes where we were talking about a white versus an off-white, and we really nudged that, like it has to be this, 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 and this, and then tonight we're lenient, so we want to be consistent. It's bringing it to our attention that we need to stay with what we've already said that we must do.
So whenever you guys are at the point to make the motion, that would be applied as a condition
That's correct.
of moving away from the blue
Yeah.
to then be moving to a comparable historic approved.
Yes.
Just for what you stated, the applicants in a historic approved color can get a minor approval.
Right.
Not necessarily with this project, but with other projects, whenever it's a color outside the color palette, they will come before you guys. So it's not to say that you won't have another applicant in the future that reaches beyond the historic palette colors.
Right. And this is limited because it is a machine, so it's not where they're painting it, or so they have limited colors that they can pick from.
That's going to make a very, very strong visual. If you don't
Yeah.
want to quote, change the look of a building,
Yeah.
that's pretty obvious that it's wrong. I think
I agree.
it's an excellent idea. It provides a wonderful function for your library users. You still have a little bit of landscaping. You are matching a sidewalk on one side. The color just to me does not really go toward us not making a heavy change. If that choice could maybe go to a darker gray, and it's very, you're concerned for fingerprints and people using a lock or their key card to get in and out. You're right, that's going to be a lot of opening and closing. And I think you're very wise to consider the fact that a lighter color might not be the best choice, but I just think a gray
Column.
would be, you want to say, here it is, here's where you come get your after hours things, but I'm not sure it needs to scream, come here and
Yes.
get your things. With regard to making an addition to the front of that building, a better color choice, I think would go more toward the HRC and the need to retain that 1966 without damaging both the purpose and the visual.
I agree, and I think the charcoal being darker may resolve some of your issues with the fingerprints and this damages, storms or whatever. And like she said, it won't make such a bold statement, and we're gonna already have some other altercations, so we want to kind of keep it as consistent as we can to what's already there in the surrounding. Across, we have a blue door and a red door, and we have a lot of colors going on, but this kiosk is going to be known because they're very nice.
What a mess.
Very nice, a very good idea. You guys are just right up to par to where we need to be, because I had thought about it before and I never came in and asked the question. I'm sure you remember me, you may not, but I come with my granddaughter to reading time. So I'm there a lot. So, but she's gone to school now. So I think that your idea is right on point with what the other libraries seem like they're moving to and everything with this phase. There was one other thing, I think you may have said it, I just don't know if you did, but it said it just needed a connection for the
Power and Ethernet.
power and Ethernet. So you do have that in your quotes and everything, yeah. And it can be ran from an iPad as well. There's some functionalities there, but I don't know. That's getting into something else. But yeah, so you would have that in your quotes to make sure they dig that at the same time that they're pulling up the other concrete. So it can be in the same area, hopefully. That was another thing.
And I have another question on the, right up on the hold that it said they're in about 3/4 of the way down on the description of the hold. It says if the system is used for issuing other types of items, et cetera. But that paragraph made me wonder what other kinds of things besides your after hours hold, what other functions would that be able to help both the library staff and the people using it, your customers?
For the purpose of the library, anything that you can check out from the library, you can pick up from this unit.
Okay.
So it could be any type of
It wouldn't
any
be
type of item that we offer
just
for
a hold.
checkout. Now, I will say the company also issues these types of lockers to other types of companies.
Yes.
If there's a general
Amazon.
description,
Okay.
it's similar to like the remote grocery pickup at a store. It's a similar locker system. So that could cover what they're talking about a little bit. But for our purposes, almost anything you can check out from the library that fits in a locker,
Okay.
you can pick up
that's-
from the locker. We have kits, they're probably too big, but anything that can fit.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, do you have anything?
I don't have anything else about the design. I think it's a great idea that we're giving our community more access to the resources of the library, regardless of what color the machine is.
Bonnie?
I don't have anything else. I just think it's a
Okay.
great idea. I'll just echo what Matt said. Real great idea to give people 24/7 access. It's awesome.
Karen, did you have anything else?
No, other than the cost, if you were able to match the sidewalk, the scoring, do you have any ideas to cost? Of course, I guess you don't, if that would be within your budget. Or are these quotes that you've gotten pretty much about as good as it's going to get, or do you have a real drop dead deadline for?
What's the difference in the
cost
pricing?
on- Yeah.
I can't say I can estimate what the difference in the construction pricing would be. Adding some more detail to it, I would have to go back to the companies and ask them, because I don't think I have a knowledge in that area to be able to say for sure.
Right.
Would
Doing
they,
it with
would
bricks,
they
the brick lines is
qualify
gonna
for,
add or take away from the cost. I don't think I have enough knowledge.
would they qualify for one of our grants? Could they apply for one of the grants to help?
The business beautification grant potentially.
Okay.
I need
Yeah.
to look into that and I can,
Need to, yeah, because we do have some grant money available
Might be
that
some
may can
funds
help,
there.
help you, fill that gap.
Jeanette, do you have anything?
I expressed my concerns about the plaza and the pebbly concrete and also the blue. I'm with the others on the other side. I'm glad there'll be more access to the library and its resources available to the community. I'm going to have to get a library card now in order to use it. So
Everybody should get a library card.
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
I hate to admit that.
Ms. Baldwin, do you have anything else?
I don't, and I hope you heard when I said that I'm also very favorable of what you're doing. We're going forth. We're just where we need to be. Just concerned about the color, but I think it's a great idea and support you 100%. Hopefully you can get funding through one of our grants that we have available. And
Jerome?
I am excited about the project. It's wonderful to be able to pick stuff up in the middle of the night. My only, the color is a concern. And I guess if we maybe restrict ourselves to, ask you to restrict closer to the historic palette that's approved, that'd be great. The concern over the concrete is an important one. Perhaps we can come up with some I'm not sure what we're gonna add for structure, but for that, but that's a concern. And the only other one I had was lighting. The light was there to show off the building, whether it's working or not, and to give it a sense of drama, which it shows off on the front of the building when they turn it purple, at least on the city hall. And that's just one of my concerns about lighting and it being a little bit on the dim side over there, especially for picking up and drop off late at night. And I have no suggestions or restrictions, but I'm just sort of saying they're just one of my concerns.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Everybody has filled their questions? Okay, so I will close the public comments. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And now, do we have any other further discussion between the commissioners?
Can we do a fact or finding a fact and make a motion to move?
We can as soon as, I just want to make sure no one has any other discussion.
I do not.
Okay. So, oh yes, what is that?
As we're doing our conditions on there,
Uh-huh.
is it possible to say, give them the condition to pick a color close to the color palette that we've provided, as opposed to saying the gray?
Yeah.
Give them a little bit of wiggle room. How does that feel?
Absolutely.
But, I mean, they have, you saw it's a small choice of colors that they get to pick from, so.
The gray was one of the more
Right.
popular ones that we, okay.
To Jerome's point,
Yes.
there is a burgundy that's also in the historic palette, the gray, a blue, there's some greens. So it may behoove the commission to open it to just say in alignment with the historic
Okay,
palette.
that sounds good. All right, any other comments from anyone? Okay, I'll call for a motion. If you want to turn to page 18, yes,
If
sorry.
you'll close the public hearing.
Oh, I have to close it here? Okay, I'm sorry. So may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion,
Motion. Oh, sorry.
Okay, and there's a motion. Is there a second?
a second.
Okay, there's a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes. Thank you.
I move the commission.
Yep.
I move that the commission find as fact that the proposed project for Graham Public Library COA 2113, if constructed according to the plans with the color palettes that's already approved.
Okay, so first, you have to go and mention the different fact findings first before we do that. What you're going to do is the second motion.
Okay.
The first motion, we just have to list all of the fact finds that attached to this project.
Oh, okay. So, the new and existing walks and steps should be removed.
And if you went to turn to page 18 is what I'm told.
Yeah.
In your packet, you'll find some of the fact find and you can list which ones you feel fit the design standard for this project.
So we need to,
So your
the
first,
fact findings that I have 8.3.1 through 8.3.4
okay.
all need to be revised. Or the findings need to be revised according to these findings?
No, those are the ones that
Make
okay,
it
staff,
contiguous, that support it, your
That
fact
support it.
finding.
Yes,
So this is in the design standards that allow you guys to say that there was factual information guiding this process. So are you saying landscaping features, public right of way, list all of the components, and then move to the next category, whether it's masonry or et cetera?
So if there are things on this list that we're having issues with, do we just skip them?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna.
You're
do
only
those in
doing the
second
ones that
motion.
pertain to the project that you agree with.
Mine are just simply recommendations.
These
So
are
I'm
recommend-
fine. We have no time limit. If you want to turn to your design standard handbook and just flip page to page, whatever you want to do with doing your finding of facts.
And we could,
But my
we
question,
could discuss it first, right, before we make a motion?
Yeah.
The
we
fi-
discuss
So
it?
why don't we discuss and this might make it easier for us to make a motion. Why don't we discuss the fact finding list between us all that you think should be in the motion, and then that will help us
So,
to create.
so it
the
looks
motion.
like 8.2.2 is the one that is that presents the least problems, like that we don't need to like, it says site grading should not adversely affect drainage or soil stability
Right.
or adjoining properties. We haven't had any discussion where that's an issue. So that could be a finding of fact to help us move it through.
And so that was a what?
8.2.2
8.2.2,
landscaping and trees.
Okay,
And then I think 8.3.4 gives us the finding of fact with the wiggle room later for our motion, because it says the features, materials, surface, details of the walkways, driveways, and parking areas should be repaired through appropriate methods to specific material when appropriate.
Right.
So that would allow us to find that fact and then move forward with the motion with the set things that we want to see in it.
okay.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything else?
3.1, do you think? Be compatible in pattern design and materials to the. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'll work too.
Anything else?
Well, I think A 3.3 also, because,
That's one that Matt.
yeah. Mhm. Oh, I thought he said A.
I read
3.2.
3.4, 3.3 would
Yeah,
go
3.
to.
Yeah, he said
Mhm.
3.4. 3.3 should also be
Okay,
considered.
so you could do 1 through 4.
That's what I was saying. I said if
Yeah.
you could adopt A 3.1 through A 3.4, we could be able to cover it.
Right, okay.
B 12.1,
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have?
Well, I think B point 12.1 through B to include 12.2 and 12.7. 12 B 12.2, the placement of color should provide contrast between different materials of purpose, style, and structure. Elements and trim and soffits. No, we don't
They're
need
not
that.
really doing
We
that.
don't need that.
No.
Yeah.
We don't need
That's-
that. We don't need that. Yeah, I think that's it.
is A 2.3,
Yes,
A 3.1 through 3.4,
yes,
B 12.1,
yes.
and anything else that I missed?
I think that's it.
Okay.
I wanted to say B 2.2, maintain and protect masonry features, surfaces and details.
Okay,
Okay.
that's, say it one more time. B what?
B2,
2.2.
B 2.2. Okay.
Bravo 2.
Oh, I had that. I just see it. Okay.
You could also use D.6.1 for the site plan for construction projects. Should identify existing trees, walks, or other features that could be incorporated into landscape design. Every effort should be made to save trees, shrubbery, and hedges,
Okay,
because they are saving that
right,
bush, and they're gonna rework the rest of that bed.
right,
So, yeah, that's another one we could throw in there.
okay. And I just want to make sure I wrote down D 6.1.
Oh, the one I just read?
Yeah.
Yes, D.6.1.
Okay, just made sure had it down right. Anyone else? Okay. So do you want to someone want to make a motion now with our fact findings?
I move that the commission,
Go ahead.
I move that the commission find as fact that proposed project for the project of Grand Public Library, COA 2113, if it's constructed according to the plans reviewed at this meeting.
Okay, and need to list.
A,
Uh-huh,
now do the A 2.2,
yes,
A 3.1 through A 3.4,
yes,
B 2.2,
yes,
B 12.1,
yes.
and the B6, I don't have that page.
D 6.1.
D 6.1,
Uh-huh,
I don't have it.
all right. Is
Uh,
that, go ahead.
Well, continue to read as I put that in.
No, I think, so do you have anything else you wanted to put in that?
No, sir.
Okay, so I think that's the motion. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay,
we-
you have a second?
Oh, did she finish reading it or?
Yeah. Is there more to go? Did I?
Well, I
Oh,
was-
she
Skip something?
I was
finished the
asking-
list.
There's more.
so She didn't finish this.
Yeah, I was asking, do I need
Okay,
to
go ahead.
read the
I'm sorry.
continuous? Okay.
We'll I cut in, sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. We're learning. I know I am. Okay, with the special character of the historic district, because the installation of a hold IT self-service kiosk request is not, what do we say, is with the,
Say
is,
Is continuous
Is
with the finding of
with
fact.
the findings of facts that's mentioned, that have been mentioned,
Mhm.
will be consistent with the special character of neighboring properties as well as whole it and is with the continuing of fact, consistent with the design standards.
Okay. And can you second that again?
I'll
since
second that motion. It's been
okay.
made.
I cut in there. Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. And and you got the motion, the staff? Okay, good. Sorry. And so all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
And second, I mean, any opposed? No opposed, so that is approved. Thank you. Now, if we could have a motion.
For the application of
For the
COA
application.
2113. And this is where you'll add your conditions.
Right. So do we want to, let's talk a little bit before we do the motion on the conditions so that we can create the motion from our conversation.
Yes,
So
Need,
we know, I will point out the conditions that I've heard and then you all can chime in. So I heard that as the color that we were talking about, from what I heard is that we want them to have a choice that they can compare their colors with the historic colors and try to fit their color within the historic colors. And then I heard from the pattern of the sidewalk, if the concrete that they are pouring, if they could somehow with either coloring or with bricks or some other form to try to bring the plaza into more of a look of that, I don't know the word I want to say, but that
Continuation of the design of the plaza.
continuation of the pattern. Is there anything else that anybody had?
so do we need to call out where those things fall within the guidelines?
No, you've already done the finding of fact. There was one other discussion
What?
point that I heard you guys discussing, that was the securing. I don't know if that.
Oh,
was
that's
a
correct. The
condition.
securing of it and that if it is secured, to the base of the concrete. And if it
For the wall.
does have to do to the wall, that it does into the, not into the brick, but into the mortar,
The mortar, yeah.
would be the third. Is there anything else that anybody had that's within this? Okay, so is there any discussion on any of that you want to tweak or anything that I said?
Just clarify, did the
Yeah.
city say anything about whether it was safer for to be, to the building or to the concrete?
I don't recall if Susanna has any recollection. I think that would probably come down to further discussion after you guys make the motion tonight. We'll get the building inspector to weigh in
Okay.
on it. Just leave it open to where those guidelines will
Okay.
allow either of the options, whichever one's the safer.
All right. Okay, so Jeanette, you said you're going to make a motion?
I move that the commission approve with conditions, and I read the condition, okay, that the concrete walk in the plaza be tinted and
You're getting too specific. Deb,
Or-
so-
Or,
poured
or,
tinted or
Correct.
brick to match the current plaza, to pick a color that more closely matches the historic palette, or as close as possible matches the historic palette, that they save the landscaping of the tree that's already present, and to protect the brick in the library wall. If they have to attach it to the wall, use the mortar, not the brick, for attachment. The application COA 2113 with these conditions be approved.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Uh,
All opposed? It passes. All right.
nice job. I do want to restate some discussion that Justin and I had after our last meeting. I apologize that I failed to inject this whenever I was going over our order of procedure. When you move to discussion, if you have a question, you can ask the applicant. If we had other public here that were seated that could speak upon it, when you close the public hearing, they are no longer eligible to speak. But if the commission has further questions of the applicant when you are in deliberation, you can refer
Oh,
back.
you can? Okay,
the
that's a good
applicant.
thing. I didn't think you could.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can.
why
To
you
the
close-
applicant, to the applicant,
To
or
the
staff,
applicant,
but not to, if we had public withstanding, because someone could have come tonight and been in opposition, and you would have heard their feelings in the opposition. Now, they have to have standing. So standing means that they're directly impacted by, so maybe the police department, or maybe the city of Graham, because the city of Graham and the campus felt that it wasn't incongruity with color schemes. So someone may in the future come that's in opposition. Someone may come in the future in support of. So that's where our hearings could get a little lengthy.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, at this time, anyone providing testimony for COA 2114, please come forward to be sworn in. Okay, so may I have a motion to move into a public hearing, please?
I make a motion that we move into a public hearing.
Is there's a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now in a public hearing. Now, Mary, will you please present the staff report for COA 2114?
Commission, the COA 2114 is located at 101 East Hardin Street. If I can direct your attention to the map on the teleprompters, this is at the corner of North Main Street and Hardin, located next to the press. The level of architectural and/or historical significance is it's noted as field and being of the architectural design of the 20th century. The applicant is requesting to replace the existing 2 garage doors. In the vicinity of this property is the recent installation of a garage door at Wits in Court Square, located at 129 West Hardin Street is Anthony's Tire Shop, where there are 2 garage bays, and then at Forgotten Road L's located at 141 East Hardin Street has also recently updated garage doors.
Okay. Is there any questions to the staff from the commissions?
I do have some. Yes, you indicated that in your report that there are doors that are similar to what's being projected here tonight that's already been installed and approved by the committee, HRC,
And that are existing already in the district.
in the district.
So Wits was an approval, Forgotten Road Ales was an approval, and then the Tire Center, it's been in existence, it predates me, so I'm not sure if it came before the HRC, but I think that that was, part of the building when it was first installed.
Now, as we're designing, as we're reviewing this design for these doors, are we to consider this a freestanding experience, or do we have to refer to
So those references are just to give the commission the ideal of garage doors are already at existing locations in the district or nearby. Does that
So-
answer your question?
Sure.
Okay.
With B.8.9, where it states that the appropriate to conceal or remove surfaces of historic windows and doors, how does this comply within that then?
So it's an enhancement.
Okay.
I'm not sure, we may hear from the applicant, are they functional? What, is it an improvement to the look? These, is the deliberation of the commission is the historic reference more as the way it sits, or is it moving towards multiple panes with glass?
Yeah,
Yeah, if you look at
the
B,
description,
I'm sorry, if you look at B.8.8, it also says if,
since it's not missing.
well, I know, but I don't know that they're serviceable. They're in pretty bad shape. So I'm just saying it says it, or is a new design compatible in scale, material, and detail with the historic character of the building and district. And I think that's where you get that catch-all for them to be updated a little bit. I mean, I think if you look at the fire department over here, they have a very similar to what they're talking about putting up.
But
That's a
fire
good one,
department
too.
is a building
So
from the
they're
1960s.
they're actually quite attractive.
So can we move from the staff to the public? Does anybody have anything else for Mary?
And you can always come back to me too.
Yes, that's true. All right. So could you give your name and where you live, please?
Jillian Miracle, and I live at 414 Glen Oaks Road in Burlington.
Okay, great. Thank you. So if you will just go a little bit over your design and why the change and so forth.
Sure. So the reason for the new garage doors is for beautification too. We love how Wits looks, and then Forgotten Trails,
Forgotten Road Ales.
yeah, Forgotten Rails, that look, and just with fixing up the place and with the product that we sell, that kind of home decor to pretty things, I guess you could say. And that's why we would want to go towards this kind of design and updating the garage doors. And as far as functioning, we would want them to be able to go up and down and function appropriately.
Okay. Is there any questions from the commission?
Do the doors not go up and down now?
I think they do. It's just
It's just not.
not grand.
Probably not very safely.
Safe, that's-
Right. They're pretty, they serve their function, but not to the
Because I
best.
know Jeff's had them open a lot
Mhm,
when he
yeah.
was there.
So I
Go ahead.
do have other questions if it's permissible. So B.8.10 states that it's not appropriate to create false sense of historical development by making changes to windows, doors. How does this stay with the already established guidelines?
Can you repeat what number and which
Point.
heading, what heading are you under?
Windows and doors.
Windows and doors.
B.10.
B.8.10.
Well, she's not basing it on documentation.
No.
That's what the false sense of historical development. She's not basing it on any kind of historical physical documentation.
She's not saying that the replacement will be a historically correct door.
Okay, okay. that's
She's
right.
replacing to a more functional door. Jillian, can you speak towards the doors so that I'm not putting words in your mouth?
So as in what we were trying to go for is the glass pane doors that are insulated and to match in the tint color, so it's not necessarily see-through, but just to go along with the other windows that are there, we would like to kind of have that same window you can kind of see in, but it's still private enough, and then have the aesthetic look of all the two glass panel doors.
What's the color of the trim of the doors?
It would probably be white, but I think that's to be determined based on the doors. But I think our goal was to do white since it's a white porcelain building to
Okay.
stay within the white.
I was to say there's the white porcelain buildings there was a series of white porcelain buildings that were built, also a series of white porcelain houses that were built. And it's important to keep that in character because that is a historical aspect of it.
Sure.
And the doors go with that. I ran into trouble in looking at this going, okay, I know what we're going for, and I know what the historical design for this would be. And I've seen doors from the 1950s and the 40s where there were glass panels all the way through that.
Yeah.
But there's also the muttons, for better terms, muttons and rails were, and styles were all white.
Mhm.
And that's what, when I saw the picture on of the North Boston Fire Company, I thought I saw aluminum and I was going, oh,
No, the metal can be aluminum, but the color can be white.
okay.
So the muttons
I
are
feel much
normally,
better with that. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. It's normally like a strip. Is it wood or is yours going to be metal?
Metal.
Yours is metal,
Metal.
but you can paint metal. Yeah.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I couldn't decide. I know that these doors probably are not original to the facility. But I know from experience, because I'm old enough, that other gas station like this had doors like that, but as you are saying, they were white. They were glass. So it does fit within the scope of
Yeah.
that building to have doors that have the glass.
Not out of character at all. I
No,
think it's very, it's
it's-
gonna,
it
like
is
she said,
very good.
enhancement was a very good word to use there. But nice.
So
Really sure.
is there any other questions from the, I don't have my list here, sorry. Jerome, did you have any other questions? Ms. Baldwin, do you have any questions? Okay, Jeanette? Okay, Karen, do you have any? Bonnie?
No.
And then Matt, do you have any questions?
I don't think it's a question. Mary, you mentioned forgotten and wits. Are those both consistent with each other? Are they, is there a consistent look that if we considered it, we'd want to look at for when
So-
approving something like this?
So this is where I'm going to show my inexperience, and I apologize. It dawned on me too late to go and capture what the look of Forgotten Road is, because I cannot go off of my memory. I didn't serve in this role. I think Forgotten Road Ales may have just painted theirs. I'm not sure if there was a replacement.
Okay.
And then, of course, Wits is new construction, and that is in line with this
With-
look,
What
Okay.
you're going with.
with the exception theirs is metal and not painted.
Right.
Gotcha.
30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's, and so that's something that I will improve for the commission moving forward is comparable vicinity
Mhm.
pictures to include them in the PowerPoint for you to be able to have that reference point.
As you're pulling buildings of comparable in the vicinity, is it also not important to include the historical context of those periods? So we're not comparing a 1960s building to a 1820s building.
So I'll take direction from the commission because there is variability in the age. And, you know, in reference to Wits, that's new construction. It was going off of a look, but it is a project that was approved by the commission.
And being consistent in the look that they're going with is going to be consistent with an existing. I think it will all flow very,
Right.
very good. And they're on different corners. They're, I guess you know the city better than I do, but yeah, it'll be very consistent and it'll brighten up that side of the corner as well. Because this building does need some enhancement.
Maybe the due diligence to take it one step forward is for those references in the vicinity to apply a year, if it's known, of if it was a remodel, a new construction, or if it's an original. If I could gain that, would that cross both of those Ts?
That would help.
Okay.
Is there, so I didn't, is any other questions? I didn't feel like there's any other questions.
So. I
Okay,
don't-
so I'm going to close the public hearing. I mean, the public comments. Those are discussion between all the commission. Any discussion?
You need to open.
So do we want to,
To open the closing.
So he closed the public hearing and now y'all are deliberating.
so
So
I have to close the public hearing here?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
so is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All closed, thank you.
Now you're moving to deliberation, and if there's conditions,
Okay,
or excuse me, like the finding of fact for y'all to
Right,
outline
let's-
those.
yeah, I'll talk about finding facts.
When we went through the finding of facts, they met all the criteria.
Right, but we have to make a motion for that. So if we
Oh,
just
okay.
want to list the facts so we can kind of have what we want for the
B
motion.
1.23 B. B 12.7. Or do we just list the ones that is going to be,
Ones that you think fit that,
that's fit?
How about
B one-
B point 12.1?
okay,
That's the placement of color should be appropriate to the architectural style of the
Right.
structure. B point 8.1,
okay,
B point 12.7, which is reinforce and enhance architectural materials and features of a building and site through appropriate selection and placement of color. And D point 11.1,
B 12.4.
Did we say B 12.7?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
And I didn't get the very first one that you said, Ms. Paul, when you said B 1 point
was-
something, and I didn't get.
Oh, okay, it was
B
B
1.2.
12.1, B 8.1, B 12.7, B 12.4,
Okay.
and B, was it B 12.2? Okay, let me see the placement. of-
No, that's
no,
what, that's the one I didn't have, B 12.2. And then it was D, what did you say, D, right? D
Yes, D is
11.
in Delta.
Yeah, D
11.1.
Okay. Is there anything else, any other fact finding that you all?
Is this
Bill?
gonna be, what about B 8.2 is maintain original recess entries where they exist? Because that's gonna maintain the same, right? They're not gonna move the doors or recreate anything. Same.
Point two.
I'm sorry?
She was, I mean, I was just agreeing, you could do B 8.2.
B 8.2.
Okay. So we have B 8. Okay, anything else? All right, someone want to make a motion of fact finding?
I didn't catch all the ones you said, or
Neither.
I would do
Yeah.
it. I didn't catch what you. I didn't catch all the ones that you said.
Oh, okay, so B 12.1, B 8.1, B 12.7, B 12.2, B 12.4, and B 8.
And then D 11.1.
B 11.1.
I think that's all the ones I have.
Mhm.
I move that the commission find as a fact that the proposed project for, you said Miracle, is that how you say that, right? Okay. Miracle Metals COA 2114, if constructed according to the plans reviewed at this meeting, is as in B point 12.1, B point 8.1, B point 12.7, B point 12.2, B point 12.4, B point 8.2, D is in Delta point 11.1, is congruous with special character of the historic district because the installation of the 2 garage doors requested is consistent with the special character of the neighboring properties as a whole and is consistent with the design standard that I already called out.
Okay, is there a second?
My second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so we have found fact. Now, if I could have well, let's talk about any changes to that we might need to put in the motion.
Maybe
What-
just that we do keep, that they do keep a white
Right.
color, you know.
I think
I
that's-
wouldn't want them to slap up black garage doors or red ones, you know, that would be kind of,
Not
you
it.
know,
I agree. I think that it needs to say that it has to be white.
yeah.
So you want to
And what are you? Go
agree
ahead.
with what she said?
Okay. Anything, any other changes to the guideline? Okay. Jerome, do you want to make that motion because you used the right terminology and I
Yeah.
didn't remember that
Yes.
terminology?
Let me find, I'm looking for, I'm missing the,
Page
29.
missing page 29. All right, cool, thank you. I move that the commission approve with the conditions that the buttons, styles, and frame of the door be painted white. The application for COA 2114, as with the conditions as just stated, state each condition here, that the buttons, styles, and rails of the door be white.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
There's a second. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay. So right now, we will hear the updates from the staff. Mary?
Great. You already closed the public hearing. That was the last thing was the voting, but thank you for checking. Great job, commission members.
Yeah.
Great job. Okay, so you guys, I would like to bring to your attention that there was a glitch in the receipt of the facade grant applications. The glitch occurred when the city's security filter pushed the application to the staff's junk email. Once it was retrieved and forwarded to me, the security filter once again intervened and prevented the application attachment from being viewed. The submission of the application was presented to staff and the facade grant applicant awards were made public. Staff researched the glitch and found that the application to be good in standing, and therefore I have approval from interim city manager Aaron Holland to make a presentation to you this evening to extend the facade grants by $5,000 to entertain the review of the facade grant application for Miracle Metals. So this will give the applicant their due diligence for being eligible for the funding. The Miracle Metals, as you know, you've approved their COA this evening. When does the commission want to hear the facade grant application?
Are you saying we have an extra $5,000 to hand out?
Relative only to Miracle Metals. It does not open up for other applicants.
Okay.
Not for you. No, we have something separate.
And we don't have the information correct in front of us, but we
So
do have the information. don't we?
If it is the desire of the commission, I have materials that I can supply you with.
So what, do you all feel like we can go ahead and look at this and move forward in this meeting, or do you want to table it and do it the next
I'll
meeting?
make a motion that we go ahead and hear the facade grant now, if somebody wants
Okay.
to second it.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, so I have a motion and second that we hear the facade grant now. Is so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, so that passes. Thank you.
So you guys are correct, you have this in your packets. I just made another copy of it, so you can have it in front of you along with their facade grant application. And then I'll come back by and give you the matrix.
Eric, could you remind me of the standing limit that we have on this?
This was a feel. Is that what you're asking?
How much money can we hand out?
Oh, sorry. 5,000.
Okay, Mary, I do have a question on, has the applicant previously received facade grant funds?
No,
So we're looking at the business, not the owner.
that is correct.
Okay,
The applicant is Miracle Metals.
okay.
This considered rehabilitation,
What number are you looking at?
the level of rehabilitation.
You say yes, Chair?
Oh, no, I'm saying yes, I, that same question, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Repair and replacement,
For rehabilitation.
I think it would be 3, but I'm checking.
I would say 3.
3, I would think so too.
What?
What category y'all on?
It was the first one,
Oh,
level.
level of rehabilitation. If there's a consensus, I'm in agreement that that is a 3. So with this being the only applicant, once you do all your tallying, if you just want to put your total score, and then if someone from the commission would just like to open up the discussion about what's available as far as in the funding amount. Did you have a question?
Deal.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
So for the facade grant for 101 East Hardin Street, to replace the roll-up doors, we have up to $5,000 available. Want me to go ahead and make a motion now, or
I would
do you-
discuss it maybe
discuss?
with the
Okay.
commission, just put forth what you're thinking. Someone may have a difference.
Okay, well,
I
I,
just have, I
oh.
have one question. So the facade grant was increased by $5,000. And was it said, do I understand it to be said that it was only increased for the use for Miracle?
That's correct.
So it
because
was,
it got
it,
left out.
the applicant did not get their, their service for you guys to hear it before them
Right.
because of the city's high filter security system.
Ah.
Therefore, in finding it, they submitted it, and it was in the time period. It just was, a glitch of our security system.
Yeah.
And so
they
in
shouldn't-
in discussing it and knowing that it wasn't anything on the applicant's part,
Yeah.
the request that I made to the city manager was to allow you guys, if you felt that it was in standing, to have the opportunity of up to 5,000. The commission could say 2,500. You guys don't have to award the entire 5,000, but I wanted the eligibility to be at the max that you
At the
could
max.
award, and he approved that. So it's not necessarily an increase in the facade grant. It will be viewed as an overage for that line item, like financially for our books, but it was our due diligence because it was an error on the city's
Mhm.
side.
So not that they have to be awarded the entire 5,000, but
That's
it's
what you guys
available.
will discuss.
I'd be curious of where like the average fell in line with how we rated last week's. Because we had the amount of money, we were able to say everybody gets the full amount basically.
Right.
But this would have changed that. If my thoughts are, if the scores are still in line with the McClure furniture and the other ones, then I'd be okay with saying give the full amount because that's what we did previously. But I think we need to look at it since we're spending our citizens' money on this to make sure we're doing our due diligence to see if we're being consistent with how we rated the last group before we just say unilaterally, we're going to give out $5,000. I think that's only fair.
So if you'll pass down did you do all your math? If you'll pass them down, and I'll give them to Mary. And then we'll go from there. How about that? And then Mary, if you could pull up do you have last month where you could answer his question?
I'm looking to see, if we could take a break for 5 minutes, we'll get that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll close them to public. I was thinking that, and then you just go through the whole thing and then you close at the end. I wasn't saying that we open and close it each time, but let's go on the Now I know. Wasn't in my script.
On the what?
I gotta have. my script. Uh, I agree. They need to move forward. So, whole thing about, okay, you want to progress forward, but
Mhm.
The record.
You can direct. Mhm.
the house coming in. But it'll cut down. Fit within our guidelines. Of course, I hadn't gone into the.
Yeah.
I might want to have a lot. That's fine.
Movie set, and it would be a movie set.
That's
Be
not-
representation of-
I think my problem
What do you
was
do for a business over there?
So, I have a CNC plasma table. It's at my house and my shop, and so I make like metal, like the big monograms.
Oh, okay.
Metal decor, so it's
I
gonna
did
be,
not know that.
yeah. And my
Okay.
husband's a welder, and so, and then we're gonna make.
3 or 4.
Oh,
parking
excellent. I love stuff like that. That'll be awesome.
I love it. It's so much fun to do.
Parking.
I like being creative. 'Cause I'm a
You
nurse
might
by
have to walk
day
and
or
walk.
writer, but I'm trying to
There's parking.
do this more full time.
Over into
Never feel.
private sector
except
business.
when you
That's
have-
right.
I hear you. I don't blame you, especially right now.
you
No,
know,
yeah, I'm ready.
Hey, We need another parking lot when there was a parking lot. straight across.
Oh, you know, everybody likes stuff, you know, so that's a real popular thing right now, so
Always parking spaces.
I hope you do well. Definitely shop there.
I'm ready to, I'm nervous,
Yes.
I'm ready to get in there and get going and just get a bit, you know, my
There's
vision
cars
out.
in there. So it's never full unless we have a concert.
Together.
or something, you know. So for me, that was a hard.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Is it? Well,
That's okay. I
That's
knew
right,
she
it is.
went to go We knew you guys had it.
Duh.
She went.
I forgot about that.
We did it on the screen. I don't know how you keep track of all. Knew you had it. Abby.
Well, the scoring, I believe, is what Matt was asking for.
Here's the thing.
Okay, thank you for your patience. If I understood, I just want to ask a clarifying question to Mr. Haley. Mr. Haley, are you asking, the average tonight that you guys scored the project was a 26.7? Are you asking where that fell, if it would have been reviewed with the others?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it actually would have scored third.
Third, okay.
Others were, I think, 28. Is that what they were?
All right, so any other questions of the staff? Do I, I'll take a motion for this grant.
I'd like to make a motion for the facade grant for 101 East Hardin Street for Miracle Metals to replace the roll-up doors that we grant them the full amount, 5,000.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion before? Okay, so all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
So just continuing along with the staff updates. Many of you guys were made aware of the October 21st Vision Forum, and many of you participated. Thank you for your participation. Those of you guys who are not able to participate, just to give you kind of a next step, the NC Main Street advisors are summarizing the evening. They'll send me a summary report, I imagine as early as next week. And then from there, Graham will continue forward in the process to hit the benchmarks that will, at the latest, cross us over to fully accredited by June 30th of 2023. So I'll continue to try to keep you updated as we hit some of those benchmarks and when there's public participation available.
Okay.
That's all that I had for my staff report. As you guys are aware, Councilwoman Wiggins is not with us. On her behalf, I wanted to report out to the commission, if you hadn't already heard, that a new city manager, Miss Megan Gardner, has been hired, and her start date is November 15th. Then the next city council meeting is Tuesday, November 9th.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any other comments before we do adjournment?
I got a couple of questions.
Okay,
There's a review of the historic district going on. Have we, there were some outlying questions that I know they've been bubbling around. I know. Do we know, have we gained any information about what's being considered? Or what areas is the study including? If the historic district is expanded, are there any, what areas are they including? Just into buildings within the North Graham Historic Business District, national recognized historic district of of the business district, or the larger North Graham Historic, National Historic Recognized District? Does that question make sense?
I'll do my best to answer it.
Okay.
It is reviewing the National Registered Courthouse District,
Okay.
not the North Main Street residential.
Oh,
So that was first question. Second question, is it enlarging? Did I hear that correctly? It has not been finalized, but there was a presentation to SHPO. I haven't heard what the outcome of it was. And it was actually to reduce some of the existing boundaries due to not enough contiguous structures around it. So that was a proposal, and where that lies is on West Elm Street. But it is not anything that's definite or in stone. It is completely under review.
so that's to expand or contract the district?
Contract. And then there was a piece on Maple that did not include some structures. I wouldn't say that it created a donut, but that was to add some structures to, so it didn't creep up of not including it, but those would include like, I believe the structure that's adjacent to the Maple Street Tavern, and maybe across the street, that's the Alamance government buildings. Those would be included. So the process is still underway. That's what I have tonight to report.
Do we have any deadlines or dates, upcoming dates?
There were some benchmarks, and I apologize that I not bring those with me tonight. If it's okay, I will email that out to the commission tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. We
Sure.
had tabled COA 2107 for the 140 East Elm Street. Were we not supposed to?
The
discuss that?
applicant is to come forward with their desires of either a new COA. They have that timeline. And so you guys would hear it if the applicant comes forward with any other request.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anyone else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 We are adjourned.